I want to start this talk with a question. What do you think is, since I started here, was the question that I got the most?
Where did you get
I mean, you know, like, barring the obvious, you know, what's your name? Where are you from? How long have you been living in the Netherlands?
Is this a real question?
Do we have to answer?
Do you speak Dutch?
Oh, these are
But then the other question that I got a lot was this. How does it feel to be the only female developer? A question that is way more complicated to answer than the previous ones. How does it feel? So the thing is, like a number of you have asked me this question, and it's a very interesting question, and I've tried to answer it, but I was usually less than sober. So I thought, you know, today is Women's Day. It seems appropriate that I can like try to give it a proper shot and, you know, be a little more articulate than usual. So yeah, how does it feel to be a female developer? Well, the thing is, for me, being a developer is awesome. I love my job, and this wasn't a thing that I expected before when I was studying, to be honest. But I love my job, I love the creativity, I love the fact that it's always changing, you're always learning. I love the surprising amount of teamwork you have to do. It turns out it's not just, you know, looking at your keyboard and your screen all day. I love my job. Like 8 hours a day, writing code, like, I love it. Then being a female developer, well, I'm proud. Like, I think it's pretty badass, and a lot of people have told me this, and it's actually funny because a few years ago, when I was a student, I was talking with my best friend, and she works in fashion, and I was telling her how much I admire her, how for, you know, going into this really like unforgiving, like tough industry, and like going for it, doing art school, like all these things that I was at some point considered but was too scared to do. And then she was like, well, I really admire you for, you know, like being a woman in this man's world and like going for it. And I was like, oh, I never thought about it like that. Like, you know, for me it was like, well, I'm gonna be an engineer. I'm gonna, you know, sit in front of a screen all day, you know, work in an office. Like, yeah, I thought it was gonna be, yeah, I thought it was lame, you know. And so it really surprised me to hear that. And like the thing about me is that I didn't want to be a software engineer. Like initially I wanted to be a doctor. So that's why the whole like working in an office was, you know, a lame thing for me to do that I considered. But then I tried to do that. I dropped out after 3 weeks. And then I was 17, I had no idea what to do instead, like absolutely none. It took me 6 months, and like 6 months of like very anxious, agonizing, soul-searching, going to counselors, talking to people, going to different unis. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with my life instead of being a doctor. And it is so weird, now that I look back on it, now that I'm like, I love my job, I love what I do, to think that it took me 6 months for just like one day waiting for the metro in Paris, going like, hey, wait a minute, computers. I love computers. Computers are awesome. Like, you know, my whole childhood and teenagers, my dad was like, go outside, stop being on your computer all the time. And I was like, nope. So it seems like, why didn't I, you know, think of that earlier? And it's because, well, like as women, we just don't, like, you know, like if I ask you, like just like real quick, don't think about it too hard, you know, just picture a developer. You're probably gonna picture, you know, this guy. You know, and if I ask you like picture like a really smart, like high-skilled pioneer developer, you're probably gonna picture this kind of guy. Very, very smart pioneers of development. But, you know, it's like, just, it's, you know, so much facial hair. You know, like, and that's what my dad, and that's what my dad told me when I finally told him, okay, I think I finally chosen. I want to do software development. I want to be an engineer, I guess. And he was like, you want to be a software engineer? Darling, I work with those guys. I don't think you want to be a software engineer. Like you're not one of them. Like you're not like them. And I was like, well, I'm not sure either, Dad. But I guess I'm just gonna give it a shot. So yeah, like you have all these like just general pop culture does not really encourage you. It just doesn't really occur to you. As a girl, that you can, unless you have like a big brother or sister that is already doing it, or your parents, which was the case of a lot of students in my engineering school, but it was not my case. My parents were actors. Like it was just, they were not scientific at all. Like I really had to figure this shit out myself. And so how is it, like, going back to the question, how is it to be a female developer? Like, for me, being a woman in itself is not like, it's not like a giant, it's not a plague, like it's doable. But it's more about the little intersections of like, maybe you're a woman and you're also super junior. Or maybe you're a woman and you're a single mom and you have to go home like to take care of a kid and you can't like drink beers with the bros. Maybe like it's all those things. So like for me, in my experience, was like I started at my previous company. I was moving from Paris. I started in this like startup, scale up, like amazing office on Dam Square. I was so impressed, like so intimidated. Like this like coffee machine was 3,000 euros. I'd never seen a coffee machine like that. Everybody had MacBook Pros. I'd never touched a MacBook Pro in my life. And the policy, and I was an intern, so I was the most junior person, like, by far. I was a baby. I had no idea what I was doing. Like, the meme with the dog that goes, like, that was me. Like, literally, I had no idea what I was doing. And they had a policy of bring your own device for interns, so I brought my laptop. Because I'd been to Tokyo 6 months before and I brought a bunch of shiny stickers. And I know that stickers are appreciated in the nerd world, but not those stickers. Usually it's like, the nerdy stickers. So I was just like, I was hyper self-conscious. And I mean, for those of you who know me, like I don't mind attention, like I'm not super shy, but like, it was a lot, like, and I think that's like the defining thing about being a female developer is that you're hyper visible, like you stick out, you stand out whether you like it or not, like that's just how it is. And I was super intimidated, and you put like all this pressure upon yourself because the last thing you want to do is to disappoint people, is to prove the stereotypes right. You put all this pressure that you have to be awesome, you have to be perfect, you have to be the model minority, you have to prove to everyone, because I was the first female developer there. And when you're the only one, you really feel like, oh my, if I fuck it up, like they're, what are they gonna think? Like, oh well, could have guessed, like. So it's just this lot of pressure, and it's all these what ifs, so like, what if I suck? Like all developers have imposter syndrome because software in general is like broad and complex. So like we all struggle with it at some point. But for women, it's more of a problem because you have this like other pressure on yourself. So what if I suck? Or like, what if they only hire me because I'm a woman? Because that's what people tell you. Like they don't tell you you were hired because you're a woman, but it's a thing that people say. So of course you think like, especially if I'm super junior, like what if they only hire me because of that? What if they didn't? But then my teammates think that they only hire me because I'm a woman. Then later when I was not an intern anymore, when I was like a junior developer, what if I'm paid way less than my male peers and I don't know about it? What if like they're all really nice, but they, like consider me less? So it is like for me as a junior developer, and that is not the case anymore because now I'm not a junior developer anymore. Now I know that I'm skilled, I know that I'm good at it, and I mean I've become good at it because I wasn't when I started. I was a baby, but when you start, it's just it can be a bit lonely also sometimes because you struggle with all these thoughts that are just mostly in your head, but doesn't make them any less real, and you don't really have anyone to talk to about it because you don't know any other female developers, and you have no one else in your team, to talk about, like, this person like actually listened to what I was saying during a meeting or stuff like that. So yeah, it can be a little lonely.
She's washing the clothes.
She is washing the clothes. Yeah, I tried to find one. I tried to find one with her like programming, but I couldn't. I had to settle on washing the clothes. Right. So of course here I only focus on like my own experience. There's like many other different types of experience, different kind of like problems you may encounter that like I didn't. But I want to focus on what I lived, you know. And so yeah, you know, like it would be, in my opinion, like for just women to feel less lonely and like just because programming is awesome. Like, I would love it for there to be more women, you know, not just here at TicketSwap, but in general in the industry. But, you know, like, a lot of people might think, well, you know, you're the exception, you know, you're good at coding, you're a good developer, you're interested, but most women are just not. They're just not interested. Maybe they're just not really good at it, you know? And the thing is that in my opinion, of course it's impossible to know for sure, but in my opinion that is what culture tells us. That's a narrative that we've had for decades. And the thing, like a good proof of that is that it actually wasn't always the case. Actually, programming like really long ago, programming was like a female thing. And hardware was the thing that meant it, and software, which was super new, maybe it wasn't even called software back then, was considered like a menial, repetitive, like typewriting. You know, like all these female copywriters, and you know, it wasn't recognized as a real science. And as soon as it got recognized as like a real thing that is hard to do, then the shift happened, and it became more and more male gendered. But the thing is now, I mean, when I grew up, like I wasn't aware. But you have all these awesome women that like did amazing things. So she's Margaret Hamilton. She was the lead developer on the Apollo program. Like it is like the reason why we landed on the moon without it being a giant catastrophe is partially because her software was resilient enough that it could handle failures and handle them without killing everybody. She was the lead developer. She coined the word software engineering, and it was back when code was like. It literally, there's a picture of her posing next to her code. It's like a pile that goes like up to there. So like coding was much harder than it is now. You have Grace Hopper. She was an admiral in the Navy, in the US Navy, and she wrote the first compiler, which basically means that she made computers graduate from being big calculators that can do really fast calculations to being what we understand now with computers that can read a language. And I forgot something. Yeah, and the thing, she was an admiral in the Navy, and like when she I don't know, probably published a paper or whatever, people would tell her, well, this is not possible. Like computers cannot do that. Computers cannot do anything. They can only do basic arithmetic. Like you must be wrong somewhere. And then you have also these women. If you've seen Hidden Figures, it's kind of the same kind of thing. The ENIAC was the first fully electrical computer, and the team of programmers was like only women because it was war. But still, when you think about it, like I have never heard of an all-female programming team, like never. Like even on the internet, you know, like what I mean, like it just doesn't exist like today, and it existed back then. And again, when the war ended and those pictures were published in newspapers, people assumed that they were models, that they were paid to pose with the nice electronics, because that was a thing that was, you know, common in the 40s, to be fair. And that brings me to a little story that I want to tell you. So this story is honestly one of the strangest things that has ever happened to me. 2 years ago, at my previous company, they were doing this little like social media campaign for International Women's Day. So what they did is that they would like ask like all the female employees that were interested if they would like have their picture taken at their desk and write a little thing about diversity. Obviously, like I love diversity, so I was immediately volunteering, and so this picture was born. It's me. Posing in front of my screens, you know, some code behind, wrote a little thingy, you know, meets Angèle. So yeah, it got like 1,000 likes. That's more than I've ever got on my normal social media. like for sure. So that was already like, whoa, okay, whoa, you know. But then something weird happened. It just kind of started getting low-key viral. So it got shared by other accounts, like this World Code, 6,000 likes. And then the more it got shared and the more context was removed. So like this is still, like you can't see on the screenshot, but it's still with my company still tagged. And the thing that I wrote for Women's Day is still there. But like then this is the apex. This is the apex of its fame. You can see, as you can see, the picture is cropped
Turkish Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's Turkish.
and filtered. This is a Turkish content farm account, and the thing that I wrote is removed and is replaced by a joke in Turkish that Google Translate has not been able to explain to me. 40,000 likes. So all these like weird things started happening. Like my boyfriend's best friend was like, "Oh, your girlfriend is trending on Instagram." I was like second most shared picture of the day, or like liked picture of the day for like hashtag coding. Like, you know, like I would like wake up and have like 50 friend requests from like Vietnamese dudes. And it was all in languages I didn't understand, which also makes it fun. Of course I tried to read like all the comments, but like it was just I was, and then I was also like shared, you know, like shared by like random people that just would share it on their own Facebook wall. Like why? It was so utterly bizarre, you know, like and like people also like, which was like slightly scarier, people who like then, because this was not linked to the original post, but people still found my information. People still like reverts Googled it and like found like my LinkedIn, would like post in the comments, "Oh, I found her. This is her LinkedIn. This is her Facebook. This is her Instagram. This is who she works for." This person, while researching this talk, I realized that to this day there is still one dude, sorry for the assumption, I'm assuming, that is using my picture for his Twitter profile picture.
Does he have a lot of followers?
Is it Turkish?
No, I don't think so, no. There was also a guy that like messaged me, also his picture was me, and I was like, does that work for you? Like, and yeah, it was just like all of this for this picture of me, like posing at my desk, looking slightly constipated, and just basically existing. You know, it was such a head trip, and like of course like a lot of comments about my appearance, a lot of comments about like my lipstick. For some reason that was a hit. Like I don't know why Turkish people really like brown lipstick, or they really hate it. I'm not sure, but it was commented on a lot. You know, a lot of people who would like tag their mates and go like, "Your wife," and I'd be like, "I guess I'm now the wife of a lot of strange men I've never met." Interesting. But the comments that really, like, honestly, this was all, like, amusing. Like, I'm a pretty positive person. I was never, like, scared. I found it, like, mostly hilarious. But I think the only thing that kind of, like, you know, felt icky was that I had a lot of comments that were just saying she's not a developer. Like, she's you know, she's a designer that's posing for the picture, that was asked to pose. She's Janet from accounting. She's a model. She was paid, like, or like, you know, trying to like go like, "Oh, this is not real because her whatever." Like, it's literally what I used to work every day. Like, this is real code. This is real like nerd shit, you know. And and that I think was the weirdest part about it, because I was like, I was in this little bubble. At this stage I had a lot of like female developer colleagues. I kind of just forgot that I was a female developer, you know, because that's the goal. You don't want to be a female developer. You want to be a developer. You want it to be like not a thing. And then this was just kind of a reminder that for most of the world, like, I can't exist. I don't exist. I'm a fake, you know. And that was, yeah, that was weird. And it's, you know, the same thing that happened to them. You know, like, people just didn't believe that they wrote that code. So yeah, so, you know, bottom line, being a female developer, it's mostly awesome because I love my job, and like, I'm not gonna lie, like, my colleagues are all adorable. My previous colleagues also adorable. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna go like, oh, it sucks and like nobody respects me. It's not that, you know. It's like it's small things. It's all the things you put in your head, and it's also like the one time that your picture that was shared for Women's Day becomes viral on Turkish websites. You know. So, you know, you might tell me, well, okay, that's all fine and dandy, and like, okay, we get it, you want more women to be in this industry, but we're, you know, we're a business. Like, we're not a charity. We have to make smart business decisions. We can't just hire women because they're women. To which I will reply, so several things. First thing is, like, studies, like recent studies have shown time and again that diverse teams are performing better. Because I mean, it's not that hard when you think about it. It's not because women are, you know, or other minorities are just like intrinsically better. Obviously not. It's because if you have 20 like white guys that went to the same university, the same like frat house, you're just not gonna have a whole like broad range of perspectives. And if you have that, if you have diversity in your team, you have different perspectives. You have people who come from different ways of life, and then your teams are more disruptive, more innovative, and more productive. Then you also have just the simple fact that we have a shortage of developers. Like, it's a fact. It's hard to hire developers because there's just more jobs than people. But we also have, you know, half of the population that is super underrepresented. So if you want more developers, it's pretty much a no-brainer to think that, well, you know, all these women that are not developing and that could be. And like, I have this friend, she's super smart. She was trying to do a PhD in art, like some kind of niche, like really theoretical art stuff. You know, PhD in art, not the best career choice, unfortunately. And now she's like, well, you know, she told me the other day, like really intimidated, like, I think I wanna be a developer. And I was like, oh my God, girl, do it. Like, I know that you'll be really good at it. I know that you're a really logical, like, you know, like developers, we have a certain time, you have to be a certain type of person, you have to be really detail oriented, you know, really anal about everything, basically. and like, I was like, oh my God, like you would make such a great developer, you know, and like you have all these women that get to it later in life. And yeah, like we can solve this problem just by tapping into that. And then you also have the fact that, I mean, it's 2019, like this is the direction the world is going. The world is going towards more equality, towards giving a shit about those things, towards like being inclusive, being diverse. And as a business, it's just a smart decision. Because like, I mean, you know, it's good for PR, it's good for marketing, it's good for recruitment. It's just a smart decision. You don't want to be like, we don't want to be like a company, and I'm not saying this for TicketSwap specifically, but like, we don't want to be a company that is, you know, in the past. You want to be a company that's facing towards the future, and that is the future, 100%. So, how do we do this? So the bad news is, it's tough. I'm not gonna lie, it's not an easy problem to solve. It's a hard problem. But the good news is, it's not impossible. It is doable. So, for instance, Etsy, this happened like a couple years ago. They went from like 3 female engineers to 20 in the space of a year. So, like we can, like, it's a thing. It's doable. Like one manager in my previous company also was like, he just really made diversity a priority. And the thing is, once you get the ball rolling, it becomes easier and easier. Like, I have a female developer friend, former colleague, that she basically told me, like, because like I used to work for Usabilla, you know, have you ever heard of it? Not really, you know, like, you know, why would she move all the way from New Zealand to the Netherlands to work for Usabilla specifically? Because she had a really good feeling with the manager that was really like towards diversity, and also because on the team page, she saw me, and she saw like the 2 other female developers we had. And she was like, well, you know, between that company and that company, I'm gonna go for that company. So how to do it? It is a hard problem, but like this is what Etsy and other companies that have had similar success did. One of the main things is build your own pipeline. Because people say the pipeline, like there's just not enough women who apply, which is true, But if you build your own pipeline, if you, for example, if you sponsor like coding schools that are like or oriented towards women or towards other minorities, like we have like these coding schools that are for refugees, for example, then you can start like, and if you don't only hire people who went to the same uni and frat house as you, then you can really have like a more diverse, like, but it is effort. You have to put a lot of effort into it. You have to like get out there, like, zero in on like where are good opportunities. You have to have a culture that is appealing to women. So like, don't only rely on like beer and ping pong as like a selling point of your company. Because if you're like a single mom, you don't care about the beer and the pong. So it's like make your company like welcoming and inclusive, and value soft skills as well. And this will not just attract women, this will also attract better male developers, because soft skills are like, and I think this is changing now, but soft skills are underrated, I feel. Like in most companies, I don't think here, but like in a lot of companies, like, and it is really something that makes you a good developer. And as I said, once you get the ball rolling, you're gonna have all these women that are gonna want to work for you. It's a snowball effect. Now, this is my disclaimer. It's Women's Day. I'm a white woman, so I was talking about my own experience. Obviously, diversity is not just about gender. Diversity is so much more than that. Diversity is race. Diversity is social economic status. Diversity is also neurodiversity, people on the autism spectrum, people with ADHD, people with mental illnesses. Like, these are also, of course, groups that we need to be inclusive of. So yeah, for closing words, we need women, like we need to be like heard and supported, because the thing is we can't do this by ourselves, because there's just not enough of us, and there's not enough of us in positions of power. So we need to be supported. And like for Women's Day today, like the only thing I wish is for sometime in the next, in my lifetime, that I will not be asked, how does it feel to be a female developer? Not because I don't want to answer the question, but because the question would just have become irrelevant. Because, yeah, you get my point.